Hi there, welcome back to Hunt Hill at Home. Today we're going to be talking about ephemeral insects. And so I'm down at the waterfront again to look at some insects that we have that spend their youngest part of their life in the water, and then they will metamorphosize and become adult insects. Uh, So mostly this is an excuse for me to get back down to the waterfront. It's beautiful down here. And I'll give you a chance to listen. We've got a lot of birds calling right now. Can you hear all of those blue jays going crazy? I don't know what they're talking about, but they just got really worked up about something. So, mostly I'm going to be talking about mayflies today. And if you've heard anything about mayflies, you might have heard that they only live for one day. So here's our joke of the day. I would love to be a mayfly, but only for one day. All right, so if you've heard that mayflies only live for one day, that's only partially true. Mayflies only live one day as an adult that can reproduce. And that is a really fascinating part of their life. And that is the part of their life that is ephemeral. It's short lasting. It only lasts for one day. So it's truly ephemeral in the Greek sense of the word, ephemeros, which means to last only one day. And I'm going to give you a peek at what the life cycle of a mayfly looks like. So let's see if I can get this all in here. I need longer arms. So they start out, after they hatch from their egg, they start off as a nymph. The nymph has to live in water in order to survive. The nymph can live up to a year in that water. And so they can be, go over winter as a nymph. So they have a long, what for us would be a childhood. After that, they will emerge from the water, and they have to have something that they can cling on to and dry off on. So often that's reeds or sedges or cattails. Sometimes it's your dock. After that, they go into an immature stage, which is kind of like, for us, being a teenager. They're not quite fully developed, and they can't reproduce yet, but they still are no longer in their infant stage. So this stage is called the dun, and the dun will live for about one day, sometimes 2 days as a dun, before it goes through its last change into, did I get it there? There we go, into an adult. So this is the whole life cycle of this mayfly. Once it is an adult, it only has a day to reproduce and lay eggs before it dies off. Now, you might be asking me, why do we even care about mayflies? What's their point if they're only going to live for one day? Well, mayflies are actually a really important part of this whole ecosystem. If any of you are fishers and like to catch fish, mayflies are great food for not only the fry, the baby fish that will eat the mayfly nymphs, but they will also, once they get bigger, eat the mayflies before they die or right after they die. And some animals, like the bass, might even jump out of the water to try to get them. They produce a lot of food for a lot of animals around here. I caught a few different creatures here today, and I'm going to show you them. Some of them are mayflies, some of them are not, but I'll give you a chance to see what we've got here. So, I caught a whole bunch of three-tailed things because I know from my my little chart here that mayfly larvae have 3 tails, but damselfly larvae also have 3 tails. The difference is the mayfly larvae have these skinny little tails, whereas the damselfly larvae have kind of these feathery, leafy kind of shaped tails. So if you look at the side of them, you can tell. Now, let's see if I can find which one's my damselfly. I think this one might be my damselfly. Oh yeah. Once you get at a side angle, you can see that it's not as thick. It's also got these plate-like gills along the side. So the damselfly does not have an ephemeral life. It actually will spend several months or sometimes even a year as a nymph or a larva, and then they will spend a couple of months as an adult. But I've also got some other guys in here. Here's one of my mayflies, and if I look at the tails, they're not in that feathery, they're nice and long and thin. I've also got a really tiny one over here that just swam away from me. This guy also has 3 tails, and they're thin, and that corresponds with this I can't find my finger, this one. So they're pretty tiny, but they're also a type of mayfly. Now, I also found there are some exoskeletons around here. Now, this guy is our damselfly, and I found a damselfly exoskeleton. Let's find where it is. There we go. And so the exoskeleton is what's left over after they have emerged from the water and they shed their outer skin or their exoskeleton. I also have another exoskeleton in here somewhere. Oh, there's one. I'm not really sure what type of exoskeleton this one is, but it's another good exoskeleton example. So there's some of the little creatures that we found today. And I have one last thing to show you before I sign off. And that is how the life cycle of a mayfly compares to a human. So if we take the human life, that is on average about 80 years. It's longer for some, shorter for others, but about 80 years. We'll see that about the first 12 years are the childhood, and then after that we have about 4 or 5 years of puberty, and then all of the rest is adulthood. Now, if we compare that to our mayfly, they live about 1 year if they spend their year as a nymph, and then they have about 1 day of being a teenager and 1 day about being an adult. Can you imagine that life? It might be fun being a child for a full year and only having to be an adult for 1 year, or 1 day, but it also might be a little hard. I'm glad that I'm a human and not a mayfly. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you join me tomorrow. We're going to be making some more ephemeral art. This time it's going to be fairy houses. If any of you have made a fairy house before, you know how fun those are. Thanks for watching. I'll see you tomorrow.